So here we got housing, we got interest rates, less single family homes, and prices have jumped significantly. Now, when you hear something like this, does this even really affect your mindset when it comes to like short-term rentals when you're buying them? Because I ask that because some people, we've had people that do like glamping, like the really nice tent experience. Some people go really big houses with the pools and the tons of land and that kind of thing. So when you hear about like single family houses, does that really like bother you when it comes to the short-term rental side, or just more of like the housing in America?
No, it does, right?
Okay.
Because I mean, we're in the real estate market.
Uh-huh.
Single family homes are typically the majority of the inventory of short-term rentals.
Okay.
So understanding what's going on the single family home side, but also being able to understand how short-term rentals, like one of the big arguments for a lot of areas is they don't like short-term rentals because they think it affects the housing inventory, affordable housing, all of that stuff. The reality is the numbers don't show that, right? Again, it's a bunch of talking heads that make out points, and the numbers do not show that short-term rentals are actually affecting those things. So I think it is as important as an investor to pay attention to that stuff, so you can say, hey, let's actually have an intelligent conversation about this, an educated conversation on this. Right now, we're in a stage where I think the housing starts. If you pull it up, the housing starts or the permits that are pulled the lowest since May, I think, of 2020. And we've been under an inventory pinch for a long time on the single family home side.
Yeah.
There was in the 70s. So when it comes to affordable housing, right, in the 70s, we were building almost 500,000 single family homes under 1,400 square feet a year. Today, we build 50,000 homes under 1,400 square feet a year.
Yeah.
10 times less. Those are starter homes. Nobody's building starter homes anymore. Has nothing to do with us short-term renting our homes in these areas or not. It has to do with the builders aren't building those homes anymore. So the existing inventory is there for starter homes. Most of those have appreciated significantly. They're built up areas, all those different things. And so there's just not a lot of inventory when it comes to affordable housing. Now, when it comes to regular, just home starts, a lot of these builders are sitting on a decent amount of inventory. This sells, they're hoping for the interest rates to spur the buyers off the fence and go get in the market and start buying up these homes. And they started anticipating that, and they were building, not a lot, but they were building more than they're building today. And they're sitting on some inventory. And so they're saying, hey, listen, we're going to stop building. We're going to stop putting, building inventory. We're going to wait for these things to kind of this market that's fairly soft. We don't want to sit on this inventory, so we're just not going to build anymore. It just exacerbates the problem, which we've had since the Great Recession. Is we were building. I don't know if you I've seen the graphs. I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but we were building a lot of homes in the mid 2000s. Then we hit that crash of 2008, and home starts dropped significantly. There you go.
I mean, that's great.
We were building 2.2 million homes. That was oversupply, right? So real estate is a supply and demand issue, right?
Yeah.
So you need to post this on when you edit these on YouTube, right? So people can see this chart. The real estate is always a supply and demand, and we built a lot of supply. We had lenders that were, letting people get into mortgages that they couldn't afford. They were over lending on properties. So we had supply was way up. Demand wasn't quite there. We were allowing people to buy homes that they couldn't afford. And then all of a sudden we realized, oh man, we're way oversupplied in these markets. It dropped significantly. Yeah. Dropped all the way down to a low. It looks like in about 2008 or 9 of housing starts, it was about 500,000, from 2.2 million to 500,000.
Dude, that's so crazy. Wow.
And then we climbed all the way till it looks like right around that 2020. You can see the COVID drop right there. Yeah. But we were all the way up to about 1.6 million homes. We've been somewhere around 1.3 for the last few years, kind of up and down 1.3. It's dropped significantly because these builders are saying, hey, well, listen, right now, the market's not buying all these homes up, and which home sales are down as far as overall year over year. Home sales are down, but there's still a supply and demand gap.
Yeah.
And so it's going to make these because in that same sentence, you said home prices are going up.
Yeah.
They are.
Yep.
So home prices are going up. They hit an all-time high. Let's see, the nation, particularly the West,
Wow.
prices hit all-time highs in the first half of 2025, driven by a long-term undersupply of homes.
Wow.
The annual rate of appreciation has been decelerating, has been slowing down. And so our annual rate of appreciation is going up. So you've got all these things, and you see these headlines. You're like, oh, appreciation is dropping from 3%, it's dropped down to 2%, and so it, dropped in half, or and so you had a 50% reduction in appreciation year over year. All those things are actually true. Housing starts are down, home sales year over year are down. Prices keep hitting all-time highs because that supply and demand gap, there's still more demand than there is supply. And it's going to be worse if all these builders, if new home, the new home starts and permits being pulled are dropping 10 or 11, 12% year over year. And so we're going from completion rate for the housing segment search 6.7%. Let's see, where's it show me that? Not mortgage rates. Does it show you what percentage decline we had in building permits being pulled? The point of it is, if it's dropping significantly, I think it was somewhere around they fell around 8 to 10%.
Okay.
So if that's the case, but that one's showing 3%. So let's just stay there. So it drops 3% off of 1.3 million. You end up you're dropping somewhere close to 1 million homes instead of 1.3, or we lose 800 homes being built. What's going to happen is a year from now, we're going to feel the effects of that inventory squeeze again. What happens when inventory squeeze, rates are possibly down by then, and demand surges? All of a sudden, home prices are going to skyrocket again, right? And so they're already going up in an environment like this. And we're still seeing positive appreciation. We're hitting all-time sales prices. That says, in first half of 2025, we're hitting all-time highs in many markets across the country, and even in this environment. So now the builders are saying, we're going to slow down building. What if rates do come down? What if we have a couple rate decreases over the next, let's say year, right? By mid 2026, all these homes that didn't get permits pulled right now, didn't hit the market because nobody built them. And a year from now, we're saying, all these consumers are saying, listen, I kind of like these rates now. I kind of like where things are at.
Yeah.
And housing is out there. The issue becomes there's nothing to sell them. Their inventory is worse than it is today. And so all of a sudden you have a demand or a demand spike, a supply decline. So what does that do to prices?
Skyrocket.
Boom. So you have to watch that stuff. Absolutely. And so it's one of the reasons why I still like my money in real estate right now.
Yeah. That's
because the value of those assets looks to be like it's going to be going up.
Yeah.
And it looks like, it's lining up some of these things. And that's why it's important to watch all these things. Again, my opinion, watching these different things, thinking, okay, let's fast forward. How does this affect 6 months from now, a year from now? What does that do to different things? Well, inventory wise is the only other, the builders are building less. They're not building us out of our supply demand gap as it is. We almost have zero. You have such a low number of trade up buyers putting homes on the market because of where rates are at. There's a lot of buyers that normally would move up buyers, right? Where you're saying, hey, listen, I bought my starter home. I'm doing well. I've had it for 3 or 4 years. I've had an extra kid or two. I need an extra bedroom or two, and so I'm gonna sell this home and I'm gonna trade up.
Right.
What a lot of trade up buyers have been doing over the past couple of years is they're looking at their mortgage and saying, I kind of like this 3% rate. Don't really want to jump to a 7% rate or 6% rate and double my rate. So I'm gonna opt for a remodel. I'm gonna opt for an addition on my home. Might pull a home equity line out. I've got some good equity in this home, and so those homes are not hitting the market either. So my point is, I'm saying, so you got builders not building, you got move up buyers not putting the homes on the market. That's why these inventory levels in a lot of these markets, even though they're going up, and the builders have a little bit more inventory on their books and they're holding that inventory for longer, it's still a gap in most of these areas versus the demand. And the demand is pretty is pretty lackluster at the to be nice about it right now, right? The demand is, it's not like buyers are flocking to these markets. When rates start to come down, there's a lot of shadow buyers out there that were move up buyers that were ready to make a move. There's a lot of first time buyers waiting to see what happens with rates. You get a start to getting a 5 in front of those interest rates. My opinion, my prediction is you're going to get a flood of buyers coming in these markets, less inventory to choose from. Then now all of a sudden you're competing on every offer. You're getting multiple offers again, and we have one of those scenarios where prices just skyrocket.
Wow. Okay, that was gonna be my question about what rate do you think it's gonna have to get to see that flux?
I think it gets in the 5s.
Something in the 5s?
Yeah, something in the 5s. I think that you start getting a 5 in front of it. Anywhere 5.5 would be awesome if it was low 5s. But I think as soon as you start getting a 5 in front of those that interest rate, you're gonna get buyers more interested in making a move. I think it's just a mental move too. It doesn't make that big of a difference from where they're at now to high 5s. Right. But I think it's a mentally saying, I feel a little more comfortable here.
Yeah. That makes sense, especially about the move up buyers. I didn't even think about them. I just thought about people who want to start their families or get their first home, but that makes total sense. The people that are already in those homes, they're not going out of them. Wow. Okay.